We interrupt this broadcast with a very special information. Hello, my fellow South Africans. Today, I have a very important announcement to make. We have all been excommunicated from True Earth. I am sorry to tell you that we don't give a shit because we have never been part of that cult. We do, however, have to tell you that we do belong to Flat Earth. So please join me as we go through the Witsit exposure part 2.
Brilliant.
So,
That was good. That was good.
hey everybody, how are you guys doing?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I'm even better for hearing that.
I just had to. I had to do it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Well, they are still
hey,
flat,
it's a
and
little-
Jesus still loves us. You know what I mean?
Hey, Flatzoid, it's a little noisy where I'm in, so I'm going to stay on mute, but I just wanted to tell you, QE was listening the other day when Witsit came in, and he said the same thing. You had him, but he came in and tried to get out of it by bringing up defining something that you never even claimed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the sad thing
His
about
little
it.
tactic that he plays.
But that was the sad thing about it. He was trying to tell me I'm strawmanning while he's strawmanning me, and then I'm telling him he's strawmanning. He's like, no,
Exactly.
he's not. And I had to explain to him how he's strawmanning me. But yeah. But that's probably just how it is because, I mean, I'm still on Skype with him talking, trying to explain to him why his arguments are not helping. But I don't know how I'm going to get it to him to understand because he's defending it fervently, and well, that's Witsit, guys. What can I say?
Yeah. He claims the fallacies like it's a point system though. Red heaven, I get 10 points for that. You know, it's like he's excited to get. Oh, that was a red heaven. Yo, red heaven flats, 10 points on that one.
Well,
Oh.
the problem is that there's a danger in throwing everything out and saying nothing is real. Like now
That's
I'm
right.
hearing that quantum mechanics is not real because I can't say, can I see atoms? Can I see this? Can I see that?
Yeah, but that's just another problem he was suffering though. He doesn't accept the atomic model and electrons and all that, but yet he pushes it. That's what his dielectrics is based upon.
Well, yeah, that's right.
That's correct.
So I don't know, but we'll get to that probably later on. Guys, tonight the only reason we are doing this stream is because you guys voted it. Otherwise it wouldn't have been voted tonight. To be honest, I wasn't really in the mood for it. But let's see if we can get it done and dusted so we can move on somewhere else. As you can see, Michael's not here because he says, I'm not going to do another stream with this guy. So I 100% agree. I hope this sounds better. I did go and set it again. I got some help and stuff, and I think it's much better. Hi, Brian Leake. Good to see you. He's also on Skype saying hi. So hopefully.
I was looking for him in chat there.
Okay, let's say hi to everybody. Let me just make sure everything's showing. Okay, so we got 31 votes. Witsit needs to concede. 52% say yes. No, 48%. I'm on the poll that yes, he needs to concede. Like I was explaining to him, if you guys haven't watched part 1, the reason why I'm saying the argument he brought up was because he was presupposing physical curve, and he's presupposing a troposphere and an ionosphere and everything. He's presupposing everything on the globe, and therefore, because it works, he's automatically conceding it's a globe. So he's giving the globe on a silver platter, because the globe would just say, but now the burden's on you to prove that it's not working on the globe, where the thing is, it is working on the globe. You understand? So I hope he would understand that. But tonight it's going to be moving on to his dielectric acceleration and ether story. So yeah, I'm going to see what we can get out of that. So anyway, let me say hi to everybody in chat. PJ Cruikshank, good to see you. Neil Constantino, always good to see you guys. Paul, hello. Lumpy Gas in a Vacuum, thank you for coming. Arwen, thank you for being here, man. Alan Nordstrand, always great to see you. Cygnus Step, thank you for coming. Jeff Gassett, XP Black Ice, Felixy, Taylor Vision, good to see you. Derek Watts, Nelson, thank you for coming. Richard, yeah, I just say, Fairy Muff, hello. And Rachie, thank you for coming. Glenn Salsh, always good to see you too. Carl Apple, thank you guys all for coming. I'm glad you could make it. Yeah. So, before we start, anything to say, guys?
No, I mean, you were saying about see what we can pick up out of it. I mean, let's just do that. I mean, I don't think we've got to pick up much, but I mean, nothing new. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. There's got to be nothing new to pick up or to be interested in. I think it's just got to be. Well, we know what it is. It's more of the same, and it's debunked left, right, and center.
Yeah. Look, guys, this series is just simply to explain to him why his arguments are fallacious and wrong, and why he needs to start moving on with the times. Like I've been trying to explain to Neil as well. The thing with Glowbusters and Flatzoid and them, if they're getting all the people in that's fresh minds to FE, they coming there with a open mind and they are still fresh with the globe argument. So they still under the thinking habit of we require something to be holding us down. So therefore, when you're pushing a downward bias, you are just giving them a reification and a backup for gravity. So you're saying gravity doesn't exist, but we do have a downward bias. You understand? So you're just replacing gravity for them. And now because they're still in that mindset, we need something to hold us down. You actually keeping them on the globe, and then you bringing up the ether, which is also globe based. So it's really
just replacing G with A, isn't it?
Yeah. I just want to say yes, Witsit. I just got a message. I think we do have to have a cordial chat at the end just to clear things up, because Witsit, I don't want to be nasty with Witsit. I'm sure he doesn't want to be nasty with me.
I do.
I know you do, Neil. But I mean, yeah. So I think we will probably have to patch things up. But I'm still going to stick to my ground. I'm not going to just say, oh, because you're nice to me now, you know. But I mean, we're giving the arguments and we're supposed to be in this together. Like I said, we're representing Flat Earth, which is reality. And there's things that you cannot do when you're representing because it catches on everybody. So yeah, pushing things like, which is globe-based, doesn't help at all. That's practically my argument. But yeah, it's good to see you guys. Hey Travis, thank you for coming. Mallow, Into the Break, WS, and Godzilla37. Hello. It's good to see you all here tonight. You guys missed Nelson Mandela. He just left again. He was here earlier. As he would say, hello, my fellow South Africans. You are very awesome people. Thank you for coming. But you guys on South African so be, hello, Flat Africa. What? No? Hello, my...
We're all flat Africans. Nice.
Hello, my fellow flat earthers. We do know that the earth does not rotate. So please stay calm and sit without your seatbelt on. Nothing will happen. Okay? Thank you very much. Okay. Okay. So I think let's get on with this downward acceleration and diagnetism and all this, because I think there was some kind of mixture in things how we were talking, because I do remember, I think, like when he was in the early stage of it, explaining it as magnetism, or did I understand it wrong? Because I was under the apprehension it was with magnetism, and then they started pushing electric current or statics. But yeah, thank you Robert D for coming. Good to see you too. And what? Hello. Okay, let's start. I asked him to come here specifically about ferromagnetism, paramagnetism, and diamagnetism. That's what I actually want to hear.
Yeah, I just tried to move to it. Yeah, you got dunked on with that. I mean, whatever. We can move on. Okay. Now, you think that it debunks my position that different objects are paramagnetic, ferromagnetic, and diamagnetic, and then you falsely made the...
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I forgot, guys, to share it to these guys. It would help if I share the screen. I forgot totally. I'm so sorry. Share with someone.
That's all right.
There we go.
Nice.
Many apologies. I am very, very sorry for the inconvenience.
claim I don't know what that is, right? So let me teach you what it is and show that you don't know what it is. So paramagnetic is where there's a weak magnetic attraction within the material. Ferromagnetic is a strong magnetic attraction. Diamagnetic repulses. It's a negative reaction or response to the magnetic field. Okay, can you tell me why paramagnetic materials are paramagnetic? What's the physics behind it? Why is it a weak attraction?
Sorry, that's not the question I asked you.
Yeah, you don't know.
I asked you why are things not flying in midair?
Okay, no problem. See, for one, you would need to understand the terms you're claiming to debunk me with, right? So if you're claiming that paramagnetic materials would debunk my position, can you actually tell me what causes them to be paramagnetic?
Thank you, Godzilla37, for your 5 membership gifts. Really, really appreciate it, mate. You really, really are awesome. Thank you for it. Welcome, Stephanie Campbell, Gary Wybenga, Very Muff, Pure Medicine, and Dylan into a membership. Thank you very much again, Godzilla37. You really are awesome, mate. I really appreciate it. So yeah, what was going on was he was not understanding, because remember when he was in the beginning of his stages of pushing this, he was claiming magnetisms. And little does he know that dielectrics and the diamagnetisms do work actually hand in hand. The issue that I've been having with this is because he claims not to follow the atomic model, which is with electron pairings and all that, and yet this is what he's pushing. So it seems very odd that you would claim to not be ascribing to it, yet you push it, and then say, yes, the model works, but it's rubbish. That's just a contradiction in terms. And that's what was getting to me. Because, based on diamagnetism, we would have things floating in air because of the pole change. Because you would have the pole change, because it would be repulsive, and therefore you would just have things floating in midair, because it would have a repulsive current based on the changing of poles. But that was practically just what I wanted to explain to him. But we never really got there, though.
What's the physics behind it? What physically happens?
You just said they repulse the magnetic field, so they would. What?
No, that's diamagnetic.
Yeah, so
that's diamagnetic.
Yeah, so what happens when they are repulsing the magnetic field? Because you said it specifically. Wait. No. You specifically said it gives you down bias, correct?
Really?
Yeah, and I want to ask, what downward bias?
Yeah, exactly.
Neil, have you seen any downward bias before? I don't know if Neil is still in. No, it's still. And we got Matt.
No downward bias. I have not seen any downward bias. I'm actually walking around. Oh, wait, a leaf fell from the tree. Oh, wait, is that a cloud up in the sky? Oh, wait, is that a helium balloon? Oh, yes, it is.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Yeah, so I don't think Neil sees a downward bias, you know. I don't.
I mean, like we keep saying, what happens if Newton had to come and the helium balloons existed that time, or the apple fell in a pool of water instead of on his head, apparently. I mean, it would show there wasn't a downward bias, and he wouldn't have the same remedial thought for them.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, even based on the globe today, there isn't an actual downward bias. It's the ground moving up towards the object. So when something's appearing to fall, it's got a net force of 0. So that's got 0, this apple or something falling. It's not falling, it's me rising up towards it.
Right, the old expanding earth.
I am going to definitely show a video Raichi made, so we can go through it, because it does attack the argument he made that it is pulled down by this downward bias. I think I should maybe bring it up already. Let me see if I can do that, because it is brilliant, guys. If you haven't already, please do go subscribe to Raichi. Raichi makes awesome videos, awesome content. I would actually like to see Witsit response to that, to this video. Films and TV. Okay. I think it's showing. Guys, please do subscribe to Raichi. She makes awesome content. I'm sure she won't copyright strike me, so I'm going to play it through. Thank you, Rachie, for making this awesome content.
As for this whole like gravity and nonsense about you need a force, there's something called a downward electric current on the earth. It's measurable, it's provable. So we have positive energy increasing above, it then goes down to the ground to seek equilibrium. This is of course from a Richard Feynman lecture right here explaining it. It's a grounded metal plate, will have the same surface charge as the earth. The plate's covered with a ground conductor will have no surface charge. In the Next Level movie, actually it's Level With Me, check it out, levelwithmefilm.com. We actually did the experiment to show you can make things go up and down, manipulating electrostatics. Gravity's a fairy tale. Here's the downward electric current going down to the surface of the earth. So if you deny this, you deny basic, measurable, empirical evidence that can be done by going out in the earth and measuring that there's a measurable downward electric current on the earth. Well, let's not talk about that.
Much of the following explanation is adapted from Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman's lecture on physics, a section called Electricity in the Atmosphere.
Yeah, guys, please do pay attention. Remember, it says very specifically electricity in the atmosphere. So pay attention. It's very specific why it says this.
For every meter you go up in the air, the voltage increases by around 100 volts, or we could say around 100 volts per yard. We can draw these voltage increases using what are called equipotential lines. Notice that the ground is negative and the sky is positive with respect to each other. According to Feynman, this extends upward to 50 kilometers, or 31 miles, where the air is very conductive. This is the case in fair weather. In stormy weather, like a thunderstorm, things are quite different, and I won't talk about that here. But if this voltage exists between your head and the ground, why don't you get a shock? The reason is that your body is a good enough electrical conductor that standing on the ground, you're basically a part of the ground. Equipotential lines would look like this.
Even this alone debunks his whole argument. So it's moving around him, guys. So he's at 0 volt and he's above the 100 volt line. That alone shows that if we... let's say we're picking up a object. It's grounded then, correct? So that object hasn't got any volt attached to it. It's at 0 volt because it's grounded with us on the ground. Then when we let it go, why is it all of a sudden going down because of his argument? It's not. There's no electric current pulling it down. It's just because it's denser than the medium around it. That's why. So even this alone already goes against his argument.
Still effectively 0 volts between the top of your head and ground. Similar effects happen with trees, buildings, and so on. What about the electric current? A downward electrical current exists.
Yeah, Rach says things are quite different during thunderstorms, but let's not talk about that.
And consists of positive ions. Molecules are clumps of matter that have a positive charge. These ions are moving slowly toward the ground. The current density from these ions is very small, around 10 microamps, or 10 picoamps, crossing each square meter or yard every second. So in any small area, there's not a lot of power. And that's the explanation about atmospheric electricity adapted from Feynman's lectures. What about the electric current? A downward electrical current exists and consists of positive ions. Molecules are clumps of matter that have a positive charge. The current density from these ions is very small.
Well, let's not talk about that.
The downwards electrical current exists and consists of positive ions, molecules, clumps of matter that have a positive charge. In a vacuum, what ions, molecules that are clumps of matter, are pushing down in a vacuum, making things fall?
Well, let's not talk about that.
Brilliant, Reggie, brilliant. Yeah, exactly. In a vacuum then, what ions would be pulling down through the atmo? Because they're simply through the air. That's why it's charged by the air moles. With the air molecules, because the ions are apparently falling down. But like I said, the issue that Witsit has with this is that hey, Globebusters Activism, thank you for coming. The claim is not that the electric current pulls it down. You guys still do not understand the argument. The intrinsic charge in matter seeks equilibrium at the surface. That's the problem. At the surface, he's got 0 volt. He's grounded to the earth. And that means that if you're not grounded to the earth and you let something go, it's supposed to give a different effect then. So yeah, we do understand it, mate. You guys are claiming it's the electric current that's pulling it down. but force resulting from density is stronger than this very weak electric property. Yeah, and no one claimed anything pulled down. The only one claiming things pulled down are you guys, mate. So, but yeah, good video, Raichi. Thank you very much, guys. Do subscribe to Raichi. Really make some awesome content. Let's carry on with the arguments.
When did I say the magnetic field gives a downward bias? Can you cite that?
Your static, you keep showing this. You're saying when you change the politic values, then you can make things float, go up, opposite. That's what
is static electricity and magnetism the same thing?
That's what you're pushing it as.
Really? Can you cite it?
Because you're saying we live under... Flatzoid said pulling, so not a straw man. No, I never said pull. I said that's what you guys are saying, Glowbusters. You guys are saying it's pulling it down. It's pulling down because of the attraction due to the current, the electric current. Or am I getting this wrong? Because that's exactly what is being claimed. It was, you said, Witsit just said it on his debate, on the video. Gaussian plate and like a battery, that's what you guys have been claiming all this time.
What does that have to do with magnetism, Flatzoid?
So there's no diamagnetics now? Is that what you're claiming?
Straw man fallacy.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Yes,
you made a claim that things are biased downward directions due to static electricity, statics, or is it due to magnetism?
When did I ever say magnetism?
Diamagnetics, that's what you guys push.
No.
Oh, they claim push down. Yeah, right. Sorry. I want to say, then I correct myself. Not pull down, push down. Sorry about that. But what's pushing it down then, guys? That's what I want to know. What's pushing what down? Because again, if we go to gonna do this again. Let's put the ground. Okay, we are going to have the ground standing here, and we will have the man. You stand there. Okay, man there. Let us put the voltmeter and it go. Oh, I have to draw it. Okay.
You sound like Phone Jacker. Do you remember Phone Jacker?
Yeah.
Yeah, you sound like Phone Jacker.
Okay. So now we got the different volt lines. Now remember, yeah, we're sitting at 0. Here's 100, 200, 300, 400. Excuse me, I look like I'm a doctor or something because of this drawing with a mouse. Okay. So, you are grounded to the earth. You pick up a rock. Put your hand out. You got a rock there or something. That has 0 voltage. Correct? Because it's grounded. So once you let it go, you still got that field around you that's at 0. So why is it going down then? Hello?
I think that's Lumpy.
Hey Lumpy, good to see you, mate. Are you trying to clean our brainwaves with frequency here? Hey Lumpy? Hello?
It sounds like you're trying to clean the car.
I'm just gonna put you very soft, mate. Okay. So hopefully we can hear you when you do talk. But anyway, yeah. So if it's grounded, why is it letting it fall? All the positive energy above the earth seeks equilibrium towards ground. That is why it's called the ground. The set up, the down. All the matter that exists is intrinsically electrostatic. This is the same electrostatics you guys claim you don't ascribe to the electron model, the atomic models. Or is there some kind of another atomic model that you guys are claiming? Because the issue is, this alone doesn't show any downward bias because you are grounded. If you're grounded, that means 0 volts. So where's the bias to bring the ball to fall if it's grounded? You understand the issue here? Because you guys are claiming this is the reason that's pulling it down. These voltages is more potential to push it down to the Earth. So it's to seek equilibrium. You guys saying this is what gives its direction. So now what happens when we have like a helium balloon and we let the helium balloon go here? It's still in that band. But why is it going up and not down? It goes opposite. Nothing ever has zero charge. It's just in the process of discharging to the ground. When you grounded, that's discharging it. So you're sitting at 0 volts. That's what Feynman's lecture says. So when it's sitting at 0 volts, which is discharging to the ground, there's no volts to pull it down anymore. That's the problem. I think I made that very clear. Okay, let's carry on. Push the kinetic. You didn't push the kinematics. You push the kinematics on as well, isn't that?
No, never said diamagnetic ever. You're starting to regret doing this, aren't you? You should be embarrassed.
Yeah, we can hear you, Lumpy.
Okay. What? Hey, Lumpy.
Yeah, we can hear you.
It's choppy when I hear you guys. Am I roboting?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Quite a lot, mate.
You sound like you're inside a polystyrene box.
I just wanted to be able to. I think I have some value to add to this. The conclusions. This won't be. This will be an ongoing issue with Witsit. His.
And there he fell.
That's not happening, Lumpy.
There he dropped.
Was somebody asking for me?
No, earlier I just asked you what's your whole take on it, but don't worry.
Yeah, I'm in a car place. I'm looking for a car, so
yeah.
And I can't hear anything, so I'm gonna stay on mute.
No stress, mate. Yeah, Glowbusters, he says the interaction between the density of the helium and there is way stronger than the weak bias that sets up. So there's no weak bias. There's no bias then. It's the density that decides which direction, not the static, not the electric current then.
Yeah, Lumpy's in space, Richard. That's exactly where he's at.
Yeah.
Hello, what a world, whoever you are. And Ron Real World, thank you for coming. Mojo Shop, hello, good to see you. Tony Whitcomb, awesome to have you on too, mate. It's very simple. Yeah?
No, I was just breathing heavily.
But it's very simple. There is no such thing as a downward bias. The mere fact that they want to claim a bias is very unsettling because it's a globe claim. There's no such thing as a bias. You have things that go up, so therefore go against their claim for a bias. Then when asked like helium, then they make a claim, oh, but the density overcomes then. So there's no bias then. Then it's the density that always gives the rise to sinking or rising. It's not got to do anything with the electric current then. I don't disagree that there is no electric current. There's definitely a measured electric current everywhere, but it's so weak it can't do anything to decide to make things fall or rise. I mean, look.
I think he thinks that these bonds that. I think it's worse than that Flatzoid. I think he's associating the bonds that have to make material are diamagnetic and therefore set the bias based on that, which is incoherent.
Oh yeah. Oh, they dropped again. I think he's struggling with
signal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey SSC, thank you for coming. So yeah. The thing is, those pairs that they're giving, the static charge, is simply the attractions that they have. That's why when they did that on his new documentary, Level With Me or whatever, where he said he took a balloon, a helium balloon, and put it to the generator, and therefore it caused a static charge, and so forth went down. that is because that's what happens with static charge. It attracts to one another, and therefore, where's the conducting coming? The ground, so it's going to go to the ground. It's them implementing the effect in. They've actually put it into it. There was no natural thing observed there. They placed the phenomena. They made them the phenomena with the Van de Graaff generator. That's why I asked him, well, you guys are claiming we live in a kind of Gaussian plate environment then, which he says is a straw man, which is not, because the whole argument is based on like a Van de Graaff generator with Gaussian plates. So if we have like the firmament or dome, that would be the one plate and the ground is the other plate. It just doesn't make sense. Thank you, Rick5, for coming. Good to see you too. So yeah, there's no downward bias at all. It's simply even conceded by Globebusters activism. The downwards we see and the up that goes, it's simply based by the density. And well, density even on the globe is aka specific gravity. It is scalar. But when we talk about relative density disequilibrium, it has it's vector based. It's the pressure that gives it a rise to a force, not gravity, because there is no such thing as gravity. And the problem with the globe, you can't have any rise of a force because it's only based in the mathematical construct on the fourth dimension, which only gives you the appearance that it is falling or whatever, not actually happening. And with their acceleration, the dielectric acceleration, they claim it's such a weak force that this is what gives the direction, but piggybacking still that there's density for this, which goes against their claim that there's a downward bias. There's no such thing as a downward bias. It's just got to do with the ratio.
Done
keep
more
changing your that's his rebuttal, guys. He's done more than I've ever done on Flat Earth.
No, I already rebutted you.
Why aren't things floating in mid-air, Witsit?
Because it's not about magnetism. It's about the downward electric current setting the up and down, and then the density relationship with the medium will then set that vector relative to the buoyant force, which is intrinsically electrostatic.
Did you know he just contradicted his own statement there? Let's listen to it again. He said it's the electro current that sets it, and it's the density that sets it. So which one is it, Witsit? Let's listen to that again.
And down, and then the density relationship with
the air, Witsit. Okay, let's try listen to this again.
Because it's not about magnetism, it's about the downward electric current
downward electric current setting it.
Setting the up and down.
Okay, downward electric current setting the up and down. That's claim one.
And then the density relationship with the medium.
And then the density relationship with the medium.
Will then set that vector.
Then we'll set that vector. So which one is it? The electric current setting the vector, or is it the density setting the vector? This is why we say it's word salad when he talks. Because he contradicts his own statements when he talks. He just made an argument. It's electric current that causes the vector up and down. And it's the density that also causes it up or down. This is rubbish. Globuster says, if I control the variable of density, then manipulate and vary the already present variable of electrostatic, varying the effect of a direction, how is that non-scientific? It wasn't science to begin with. We don't live in under Gaussian plates. We don't live with a Van de Graaff generator. There is no downward bias to be observed. You suffer with the same problem the globe suffers. Give a scientific hypothesis for your downward bias, please. Whoop. And Hammer is in. And Matthias. Good to see you guys. How you guys doing? By the way, guys, Hammer had an awesome show with McToon on recently. You guys better watch that. If you got the link for it, Hammer, do stick it in chat for them. It was great.
I was there. Kicked his ass, man. Kicked his ass. It was brilliant.
What's
Yeah, I'll try to get you the link, boys.
What's a vector?
A direction due to force. Why?
No, I'm just right. To say firstly, I don't fully. What's the word? I've listened to what you said. I think you made a pretty decent explanation about why it doesn't make sense. But when he said that the the downward current sets the up and down, but the buoyancy sets the vector. Is there a difference between what you said?
Yeah, the thing is, he's saying the downward current is what's giving its downward bias. So that's what's determining its vector, and then goes in and says the density determines its vector. So it contradicts one another.
So you understand by the first part. Sorry about this. So you understand by the first part where he says that the downward current sets the up and down. You understand that to also be the vector.
Yeah, because he's saying that's what causes it to know where to go, up or down.
Because when I was there's this guy called, what's his name? I don't remember it now. But he was doing a showing what's his name? Taboo Conspiracy shared a set of videos done by Kryptonite something.
Kryptonite physics,
yeah. And so he was showing that a vector, it's like the length of the arrow determines like something. So
velocity.
If it's a big arrow, it means one thing. If it's a short arrow, it means another thing. And if the arrow goes in different directions, it means something.
Yeah, that was got to do with the tangential velocity on a spinning Earth.
Yeah. So, but it's just that when he said that the downward current sets the up and down, but the buoyancy sets the vector. I'm wondering if he means like the difference between one arrow being long and the other arrow being short. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Look, the thing is, they're saying the electric current is very weak, and then saying the buoyancy, the density gives is stronger, so it afterwards actually decides the direction. So either the electric current decides the direction, or the density ratio decides the the direction. It can't have both. It already makes it mute that the electric current can choose its direction if it's always going to be overpowered by the density ratio anyway. So why fight for the current if it's too weak and will always be overpowered by density ratio? Doesn't make sense. It's like they're saying if you go and you push a ball down in the water, the density is what's causing it to try and push up again, because you forcing it in. Now they like saying it's the electric current that's forcing that ball down, but it's so weak that it gets to a point where the buoyancy due to that density pushes it up, and that's what gives its rise or fall. So the thing is that current is so weak, it's not a false dichotomy, Glow. That's exactly what you guys are saying. You guys are saying that it fools it down, but it's so weak, and yet we have the density that overpowers anyway. So you don't need to fight for the electric current because it does nothing.
So, to me, what I understand is that essentially the density and buoyancy does everything that's needed, and there's no real need for this bias. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly, because there is no bias. They're trying to push a bias in where there isn't. Because it's very simple. The density relationship is what gives it on. Hey, Apocryphon, thank you for coming, mate. And Detect Koofs, thank you for coming. And Dala, also good to see you. So, let's put it this way. Maybe I might have to draw this again. Oh, let's delete all this. Okay, I'm going to give different scenarios. Okay? Just let's put the ground there quickly again. Okay. Now we're going to have a ball in midair. And then we're going to have a ball in a bucket with some water. Okay, let's drop that ball there as well.
I can see what you mean when you say you think like an artist.
Yeah, you see, I think very visually when it comes to things. So that's how I think. I do think visually. And I think that's maybe why sometimes I don't I'm not understood by some people. Hey, Brian League, thank you for coming. Good to see you. Okay, yeah, I'm trying to explain that quickly for you. Okay, let's put this. We've got the 3 scenarios. The same ball, same density, different environments, okay? Now we got the ball here. I hope everybody can see this. It's in just a normal Atmo environment.
Say hello to your wife before you carry on.
Hey Leafy. Glad you could make it. Expire by Leafy, mevrou. It's always good to see you in. Hey David, good to see you, mate, and Sultan Zero. So yeah, I'm gonna try and explain this as simple as I can to you guys. You got 3 scenarios. The same ball that has the same density, whatever. This is just it in the normal, ordinary Atmo. There's no anything around it. This is just the ball dropped. There's air here and water, and this is the ball inside a vacuum chamber. So, we all know when you drop a ball here, it's going to go down, obviously, because it's denser than the air around it. The air is bouncing, the air around it is hitting it from all directions. But the problem is, the air cannot support it. What happens if you can't support something?
It will drop.
It will sink or drop, exactly. So the ball goes to the ground. So the ball fell to the ground and it stayed on the ground now. Not because of gravity or because of the current pulling it down. It's simply because the air around it can't support it. It's the ball is creating a pressure that's greater than the pressure of the air molecules are on it to let it fall. I'm sure many of you have seen the Magnus effect before. You guys know what the Magnus effect is, correct?
I've never heard of it.
It's usually it's got to do with the aerodynamics. So let's take. Have you seen someone take a vacuum pump before, or a vacuum, and they let it push air out instead of suck, and then they let a ball hover in midair like a golf ball or something.
Oh yeah.
Just because the pressure coming out the pipe lets it stay in the same. Let me see if I can quickly find a video on something like that.
I didn't know it was called that, but I know what you're on about.
I think Physics Girl did it as well at a stage. I actually showed on one of my videos a while back. There we go. How to float a ping pong ball on the. You can see it. Now I'm not going to really play it because. But I just want to go to the part where she does. But it's good to have everybody in. Thank you guys all for coming. I really do appreciate you. Okay, I don't see any super chats. Okay. You guys rock. Please do share the show. How to float a ping pong ball. I just want to go to the part. Okay, it's just explaining it because of the low pressure. There we go. You see? That's the Magnus effect. It's floating the ball up. Let's go back because it's balancing the forces. I want to go back again.
So the air is pushing it up.
So the air is pushing up. So the air is supporting it. We can say that. See?
Yeah.
Okay, so the air is supporting the ball. So what happens is now the air had a greater pressure than the ball, so it was displacing the amount of force the object is pushing down on the air around it. There's no force of gravity needed or electrocurrents needed for this. It is just simply the object having a greater pressure ratio mediation against the air around it, so it will fall down. So the air cannot support it. So that's why, if the ratio is very important, if the ball is denser than the air, and the air cannot support it, that means it's got a greater force. It's forcing itself through the air. Now we go to the second one. The ball is showing the water, but it's less dense than the water. So we got the ball going there, and it's going down. It's denser than the air, just like we saw around it, all the atmo. It's denser than everything. So the air cannot support it. But hang on, what happens when the ball lands in the water? It's going to float. Why is that? Now this is where the globe is saying, oh, it's density, buoyancy. Yeah, but it's got nothing to do with gravity. Remember when you say Archimedes' principle came 1,900 years before gravity was even postulated.
Gravity,
yeah. So it's just got to do with the displacement of the pressure. That's all. So now it's at a neutral buoyancy, as they would say. Not because of gravity pushing down and pushing up at the same time. It's because the water is able to support it by it displacing the ratios needed. So therefore it falls through the air and it stays afloat in the water. Now we move over to the vacuum chamber. You've taken this air that already couldn't support the ball. So now we've got maybe 1 or 2 molecules in here. That's it. Compared to how it was all these hundreds and millions and trillions of collisions the whole time happening every second. Now there's 1 or 2 collisions every minute. I'm just saying this as a ratio. There's just hardly anything there. So what happens when you take away something that already can't support something? You're just taking the air resistance away. So therefore the ball is going to go down until it hits something solid, which would be the ground. Now they say, but why is there acceleration? That's very simple. Because you picked the ball up, when you were holding it here, let's say there was a hook here or something holding it, it is at 0. It doesn't start at terminal velocity. So as soon as you let it go, it has to accelerate because it's falling due to the air, well, in this case, nothing supporting it, and that's what fell to the ground. And that's why when you see a bowling ball or a feather in a vacuum, they fall at the same rate because there is nothing around it to support. There's no air resistance. Remember, aerodynamics is very important when it comes to this subject. That's why you see things like when they bring up the bowling ball and the feather in a vacuum. Why do they fall at the same rate? You see gravity? No. It's because you got less air to support it. That's why things weigh more in a vacuum than they do when you have it in an air environment.
Flats, Brian Leakey says the air can't support it in any direction.
Yeah. But where did you pick it up from, Brian? Things have foundations for a reason. You don't build your foundation here. You build your foundation here.
Flatzoid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you saw any of Dr. John Dee's videos, but is this got to do with equilibrium as well? Like,
yeah,
the ball is trying to find equilibrium.
Exactly, it's seeking its equilibrium. That's why it's density, relative density disequilibrium, because it's out of equilibrium. So if you picked it up, it's sitting at its static position. As soon as you pick it up, you're moving it away from its static equilibrium point. It's at rest. That's why when you dig a hole underneath it, it's going to fall further, because you created more potential for it to go down because the ground that it was on cannot support it anymore. It's all got to do with with the support. It's got nothing to do with a downward bias or a downward direction, and it's just idiotic to think, okay, I pick up the ball, and because there's less air on top, it's supposed to carry on going up. That is thinking exactly like a glober, guys. You picked it up. You put energy into it. What happens with energy? It transfers. That's the first law of thermodynamics. It transfers or transforms. So you are transferring and transforming that energy from the ball as soon as you pick it up. The further you pick it up, the more potential it is, not based on gravity. It's because you've picked it up further from its equilibrium point. So by picking it up, you had to put energy into it. That doesn't mean it's when you let it go, it's supposed to carry on putting energy into it. It has to be released as kinetic energy. And that's the simplest form of trying to explain relative density disequilibrium, guys. There's no electric downward current bias for this. There's no gravity pushing or pulling for this. There's no general relativity effect for this. It's just simply mechanics based on the denser object is either supported by the medium or it's not. How can we test this scientifically? Very simple. You go and you test, if I change the medium to ratio of the medium of the relative medium ratio compared to the object, what effect do I get? The ball in an air environment, it's denser, it falls. Now what happens if I place the ball in a more denser medium? It will float. So therefore I changed the medium, it gave me the desired effect. In other words, the cause for the effect. Now if I stuck it in a vacuum, I already took what was supposed to be supporting it a little bit totally away, and therefore it still fell. So what did we change in all three scenarios, guys? We changed the medium. Hey, Soundless Banana Cam, it seems you're all getting excommunicated, mate. Jimmy, good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming. Glad you could make it. I think I saw Jeff Conkle. Hello. Why do properties change on certain objects when you put a charge to that object? What do you mean, what properties change?
I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry if I keep interrupting.
No stress. No stress.
So, as you know, firstly, just to say, what you say makes sense to me. It's like, to me, it's, it makes natural sense. It's about support, and when you take away the support, it tries to go to equilibrium, and it's the relationship between the medium and the object in the medium. So those things make sense to me. The question I have is, I'm sure you know that people like, I'm not saying these names disparagingly, I'm just saying the names. So people like David Weiss or Witsit will say, hey, look at these contraptions that are flying or, ascending only because of electrics or whatever. What do you say to that?
Yeah, because they're using the Gaussian place. They're using the Van de Graaff generator. They are generating static charge. Do you know how static charge works, though?
I've heard of this thing about taking away like negative charge and like do you know what we were like what they were saying about the bumblebee and that when the air hits it somehow it gets rid of a electron or whatever. But I don't know if any of these things really exist, but that's what I've heard that static is about. The one thing is got a different charge to the other things where it repels or attracts or something like that.
Yeah. Well, it's simple. Like I've got on screen, the Van de Graaff generator pulls electrons from the Earth and moves them along a belt and stores them on a large sphere. These electrons repel each other and they try to get as far away from each other as possible, spreading out to the surface of the sphere. Like you get those plasma balls and you touch, you see, then your hair starts standing up and stuff. It's practically the same mechanics behind it. Yeah, principle. So that's why I think I'm gonna show Rachel's other video as well, because she was showing the insulator and how it just pulls the current around the insulator. Now, just like we're saying on Earth, if the Earth is a ground level, it's an insulator, so therefore it can't do anything. there's no electric charge to it because you are insulated by having a ground. Rachie. Ooh, spelt it wrong. How dare I? Rachie 000. 5 zeros. I still want to know, Rachie, why do you put 5 zeros there?
I've always wondered that. There was a question that Globebusters asked earlier. Says that nobody will answer it. If density is compactness of matter, then what causes the compactness?
If density is the compactness of matter,
then what causes the compactness?
That is based on your guys. That's the problem you guys suffer with, because I'm not even making a claim about that. You guys are claiming it's the electrons and everything being pulled together by the static charge, by the electric charge. So that's your guys' burden, not me. The problem also is that I'm sure Witsit also said he doesn't ascribe to the atomic model with electrons pairing and everything, but yet it works. So that doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, density is just simply substance crammed in a volume. That's practically about it.
I've just asked the question, Globebusters. Just put up again. I've just asked it.
Hey, Meekin, good to see you, mate. Is he talking about ionic drones? The devices create a current that opposes the ionic charge in the air and creates the air to flow. Its airflow that then it lifts the device. Yep, he changes the polarity and therefore it can charge. It can float up. But we don't see that in nature, Meekin. That's the problem these guys don't understand. So it's not scientific at all. They are creating their own environment. Okay, but let's go.
So after listening to Flatzoid's and Witsit's chat several times, I decided to make Witsit's claims more understandable, as it was all over the place. But first, let's hear why Flatzoid was bringing up magnetics. At some point, incoherent magnetism / magnetics was claimed. The issue here is that the claim has changed many times over the last few years. No wonder people can't keep up, especially with all the infighting and blocking, keeping the conversation lines more or less closed.
Why aren't things floating in mid-air, Witsit?
Because it's not about magnetism.
Is gravity incoherent magnetism? Good times for all. You see, this is what I was talking about. They were pushing it as magnetism, and that's what I got with it. So they keep changing the narrative on what it is, and that's the issue. That's why people get so confused, because no one knows what the hell they're talking, because it keeps changing.
Witsit claims Earth's downwards electric current sets the up and down, like in Newtonian gravity. The downwards force then creates the normal force, which gives rise to the density and buoyancy or RDD claim.
It's about the downward electric current setting the up and down, and then the density relationship with the medium will then set that vector relative to the buoyant force, which is intrinsic.
I just got to stop the screen. David's other channel, thank you for coming. First of all, you're pushing your specific gravity, your relative density based on a globe, not as a force. A scalar is not the same as relative density disequilibrium. You're pushing your globe physics onto reality, mate. It doesn't gel. Just because your globe physics says it's not a force, because it's a globe-based physics belief, doesn't make relative density disequilibrium not a force. Try again. I explained why it's a force.
Intrinsically electrostatic, as is
force,
density,
guys.
as is mass, as is weight, everything that...
Globus excellent. This is why they cannot let me on the show, because it was, if I was there, they cannot strawman me. This is incoherent magnetism, which is not what the mainstream calls magnetism at all. Witsit, you literally just, she brought it up that you would put, and I know because you were claiming it in the beginning to be magnetism. That's why I was asking about that specifically. It changes so much with you guys, you can't make up your mind. Now it's strawmanning you guys. It's not a straw man if you keep changing it. Make up your mind what it is.
is material is electrostatic.
That's why Flatzoid claimed globe-related. He claims everything that is material is electrostatic, as electrostatics holds matter together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you can get into whether or not mass exists. In fact, it's just charge. It's just a concept people have to quantify matter. So we can throw mass out. It doesn't matter. Let's just talk about density. In order for an object to have density, then it has to be held together by electrostatics.
Witsit's definition of electrostatics is intrinsic vibrational resonance within all matter, the charge that holds all matter together.
No, we were going to focus on one point at a time.
Electrostatics is this topic here. Witsit, what is your definition of electrostatics? Please go on.
The intrinsic vibrational resonance within all matter, the charge that holds together all matter.
Witsit thinks because there's an electric current on Earth that goes down to the surface, it must create a bias.
So if there's a downward electric current on the Earth, if there's a downward electric current on the Earth, how would that not create a bias?
He claims electrostatic is static, current is moving. Thus, by definition, that would be electrostatic acceleration.
Mm-hmm.
Electrostatics is static, current is moving. There's a downward electric current on the Earth, right?
Hey, Faciality, good to see you, mate. Glad you could make it. Haven't seen you in a while. Almost wondering if you fell off the edge somewhere. But it's good to have you in, mate. Yeah, it's always good to see you. And Yannick, also good to see you. Good to see everybody here tonight. It's very simple, Globusters, which is probably what's it. You have the link, so I don't know what's your issue not to come in. But yeah, like I said, if you just agree to actually talk properly and not insult the whole time, then it'll be great. There's no straw man here. The issue is you keep changing everything, and that's why nobody knows what the hell you guys are claiming, because every time you claim something and we debunk it, you change it again. So there's not straw man. It's just simply you guys, we can't keep up with all the changes all the time.
And that everything that goes up or down is intrinsically electrostatic. Thus, by definition, that would be electrostatic acceleration.
To clear that up, he means everything is electrostatic, and the electric current causes the matter held together by electrostatics to accelerate. Thus, electrostatic acceleration, because it causes objects to accelerate which are held together by electrostatics. Thus, electrostatic acceleration, because the electric current causes objects to accelerate which are held together by electrostatics. Witsit claims dielectric is interchangeable with the word electrostatic.
And I'm still waiting for you to define dielectric acceleration, please.
I already did. I told you the word dielectric is interchangeable with the word electrostatic. This is the main point that needs to point. You don't debunk me by strawmanning me. Diamagnetic materials don't debunk my position. You can go out and physically measure a downward electric current on the Earth. We have naturally occurring observable phenomena. Your hair sticks up during lightning storms. Lightning is discharged from clouds. Clouds are actually electrostatic. That's actually what makes it rain.
Okay. You see, then he made our point there when he brought out the clouds and electrostatics. Yeah, it's got to do with the charges. Separation of charges. That's why when he took the balloon again, static electricity, it gets attracted. Yeah, it wasn't because of a downward bias. It was because he put an electric charge in. He called a static charge. He separated the the electrons, and therefore it gave a attraction of charges. So, yeah, that's practically making our point.
You can prove this because you can go shin an electrostatic charge into the cloud and it will begin.
Hi, SMN. I totally agree. I agree with you that says it can progress, but the thing is, it doesn't progress. It keeps changing.
All right, wait, can I add clarity about that?
Hey, what's it? Yeah, good to say. How's it going?
All right. I get why it sounds like it changed and it's a contradiction. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we were talking and you were like, I get why you were saying magnetism, right? But it was like a heated discussion. I knew I didn't have time to explain this, but as mainstream defines magnetism, it's coherent, meaning that it's moving together in the toroid. It's coherent, it's perpetual, right? It's point specific, meaning all the energy is going to a specific point in a magnetism, okay? That's how everyone defines magnetism. So when you talk about diamagnetic, that's how those are defined. Diamagnetic means if you put a material near a coherent magnetic field, then it will be repelled. And if it's paramagnetic, it'll be weakly attracted. If it's ferromagnetic, it'll be strongly attracted to a coherent magnetic field. Incoherent magnetism is completely different, right? We're explaining it from a different perspective because the mainstream doesn't know how to define magnetism. So like when we say incoherent magnetism, it means like incoherent dielectric acceleration or electrostatic acceleration. It's incoherent magnetism. So these are different things. What everyone's calling magnetism, how diamagnetic is defined is different, which is why I said I never said that, right? Because I didn't ever say that it was like magnetism as is defined in the mainstream causing it to go down.
Okay. So then, okay, so I get what you're saying. You're saying because they can't define it properly, you're defining it in another way. But then would you be able to define it to us how you would explain it then, I would say? Because what is your then definition of what it is then?
Yeah. So like coherent would be like, say you have a piece of metal that you're going to turn into a magnet. If you introduce electricity to it, it'll turn it into a magnet. That's one of the ways we make a magnet because it has all these little, what people call molecules, has these little charges in it. And what you do when you put a stronger force in it with the electricity, it lines it all up in the same direction as the electricity you introduced. So because it overtakes it, so it makes it all go in the same line. That makes it coherent because they're all moving together. If you have something that's incoherent, they're all moving in different directions. They're all pointed and moving in different directions. They're not moving together. So it doesn't have like a strong coherent force. It's incoherent. Everything that exists is incoherent. That's just like saying everything that exists is electrostatic. The reason we said that was we were trying to find a way to get people to understand it. So we're like trying to redefine magnetism properly.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Yeah, I understand. You guys are
trying. I understand why that would sound like I double spoke.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, so you guys are trying to redefine magnetism and electrostatics then.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like the mainstream doesn't even define magnetism. They actually say they don't know what it is, and they'll say like if you look it up on Google, it'll say like moving charges, but not a university, right? A university will tell you, well, it doesn't really work with just moving charges, and so we have something called virtual particles.
Yeah.
To make math work. So the mainstream definition for magnetism doesn't work, which is kind of what I've been trying to tell everyone for a couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like, I can stick with that and say, yeah, they can't really define anything, though, on the globe. I mean, look at the problems they got with mass. So, sorry, I just got to say, Tony Whitcomb, sorry, I just got to say, Tony Whitcomb, thank you very much for your £5 super chat. Really appreciate it, mate. He says, the electric charge on your head from rubbing a balloon on your head goes in all vectors. Testable, repeatable, not down. Am I wrong?
Well, it goes in all directions relative to its surrounding. So if you have a balloon up above your head, well, the hair that's a little to the right is going to move relative to the balloon that's in the middle of your head. It's going to go towards that balloon. But all energy tries to go down to the ground. That's why we ground things out. Everything's trying to get down to the ground because there's plenty of matter there for it to dissipate into. That's why we ground things. This is the thing. This is the big bypass where we're kind of talking past each other, right? It's like, I agree that density is like, I wouldn't say primary because that technically means the first, right? Like initial, but it's the strongest thing at play. It's not even close. The density relationship makes things go up and down. I say it causes a buoyant force. Density can't be a force, but that's way stronger, but there's still something else there. And if we wanted to, we'll figure it out. If density is, we're saying that's the cause, then, well, what is density? And what's the cause of that? Because if something's causing the density and then density is the cause, then that means whatever's causing the density is the actual primary cause, right? Like if density causes things to go up or down, well, if there's something else before that causes the density, and actually it's that's primarily causing things to go up and down. And that's compactness of matter, density, amount of matter in a certain volume, compactness of matter. That is electrostatics. That's what holds the matter together with a certain compactness, which means technically density is electrostatic.
That I can fall with saying, yeah, the electrostatics holds the matter together as density. But that's not the claim, though. You guys are claiming it's the reason why we have a so-called downward bias that we don't, because there is no downward bias. It's simply just the relationship of the object to the medium, and it's the object that's forcing itself through the medium, and that's what the force is. That is also why the globers get confused all the time. That's why they call it a fictitious force, because they don't have a mechanism to have this force arise. And you usually need a force to arise a fictitious force. So with, like I was explaining, so the object itself was picked out of equilibrium. You've added energy to it, and it seeks equilibrium, and therefore, because the medium either can support it or can't because of its pressure mediation, that is why it forces itself through the medium.
Right. Well, actually, see, I don't disagree with you. Like when Rachie was asking me the question in the chat, I'm saying the same thing basically, which is that it results in pressure mediation, and that's what makes it go up or down. There's no doubt that the object's density and its relationship with the medium, it's pressure mediation. But like, why? Well, because the object has a certain compactness of matter. The air has much less compactness of matter. So that relationship is going to make the pressure mediate. The compactness of the matter related to each other, right, causes pressure mediation. And so it's going to go up or down. I would say that when it goes up or down, the density relationship causes the force. It results in a force that people call the buoyant force. Flat earthers don't like that because they put little g in it, and I get it, but that's kind of irrelevant. I mean, little g is just us writing down a number about how fast things typically fall down when they fall down. Another big thing that happens that we're talking past each other, right, for the last couple of years is we talk about, well, if things go up, there's no downward bias. And so we're talking past each other. Downward bias doesn't mean that things can't go up, right? So let's say that the object's more dense in the air, it's going to go down. So we could say that an object more dense in the air has a downward bias, right? Because it's going to go down, it's more dense in the air. But I can introduce magnetism to that frog, and I can make it float. Now, once I make the frog float, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden density didn't create a downward bias. The frog is still more dense in the air. But since I introduced another force that's much stronger than that, it can overcome that bias and make it go up. So just because things go up doesn't mean there is no bias.
But that I would disagree with, though, because when you're showing that you're changing the field properties, you just strengthening the field, it's able to support it because it's an attractive force. Because electric current is an attractive force, so therefore you're able to support it due to, I'm going to quote, a magnetic effect to it. So it's not because of a downward force or anything, it's still just sticking to, you created another force to support it, which the air around it wouldn't have been able to support it in the first instance. So you created a new force to hold it. That doesn't now change the fact that the density is still the same. You didn't change the density, and now it's floating. All you did was you created a force to hold it up. Let's take, for instance, a plunger. If you're going to go and plunge to a piece of metal or something and hold it up in the air, are you going to now say the plunge is causing it not to fall? Or is it you holding the cause by the plunger holding it up to not fall? It didn't change the density or change anything to keep it from falling. You added a force to it to keep it from falling because of attraction. So it didn't really change what you're saying as your, because I know you guys call it a hypothesis or scientific. You guys are trying to say you're changing the static field, and therefore if you're changing the frequency, the resonance, it's going to change the charges, and therefore because we see it go up, therefore it's the charges. That's what I'm trying to say. You guys induced that field. You made a new force present, which didn't actually do anything for the downward or up or anything.
But that was already there beforehand, which means all I actually did was vary and manipulate what was already there, right? That's why, like, when I had those two plates, the object always stays on the ground, but when I flip the field, then it goes up. I didn't add a field that wasn't there. I just flipped it. I varied it, which is why I was saying if I control for the variable of density, and then I manipulate and vary electrostatics as the presumed cause, and then it causes the effect of direction, that's a scientific experiment, and you don't even have to have a Van de Graaff generator. It happens in nature. The bumblebees literally do this to get pollen off of flowers without touching them. And I guess the main point I'm making, you were kind of making my point, which is like, even when I made that object float, I didn't change the density, right? So like the density relationship, the object's more dense in the air, so it has a downward bias. Can you agree with that? Like, you can call that a quote unquote downward bias. People just hate the phrase because the ballers have drowned it in pseudoscience, and that's half the reason this is such an argument. But like, if an object is more dense in the air, it's going to go down. So do you agree that means that object has a downward bias?
No, I still don't agree, because it's got simply to do with its displacement of the pressure. So there is no downward bias. It's just based on things are usually denser than the medium it's in. Now, that doesn't mean there's a downward bias because there's more things usually denser relative to the ratio. That doesn't make it a downward bias. That just means in observation terms, we usually see things that are more denser, because, I mean, if I, for instance, pick up my cup and I got this cup now in my hand, it has to have more density than the air around it, because it's I physically built it with substance. So the more substance I'm putting into its system, the denser, the heavier it's going to be. But the problem is, yeah, like we say, the globe has seen out, oh, what you're saying, it's got weight, so therefore it's gravitational pull? No, that's not what you're saying. It's saying you're adding more potential to the system. You're adding more substance in the system. Yes, the density stays the same per ratio, but adding more of that substance on a system doesn't make it now have a downward bias. It just means it's unable to be supported by the air around it. So yeah, you can add more electrostatics, like you said, induce a field to keep it floating or changing the poles to float it, but that didn't give you the cause for the falling or a rising, because we can do exactly the same. Like I said, we're changing the medium to the ratio of the object, and we get the same effects. It either goes up or goes down. No static current change needed. The problem with static current is it's got physical properties of changing the pole attractions, and that's what arises a force. So you're creating a force to arise. You created a phenomena, so therefore it can't be scientific, because you created it out of not natural tendencies. Because that's why I said
natural.
No, it's not. We don't walk with Van de Graaff generators everywhere, because that's how I was trying to ask you.
What does that mean, bro?
What does that mean? You are inducing a man-made phenomena. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, it exists without man. Like, we can observe the naturally occurring phenomena, okay, and then we can do scientific experiments by using instruments. Okay, but in order for it to be real science, it has to be a naturally occurring observable phenomena.
Okay, but
okay, and when we see things go up and down because of electrostatics. That's your hair goes up during a thunderstorm. Bumblebees, they literally gain charge as they fly. They go over a flower, and then the pollen like levitates up to them and sticks to their body.
No, it's called buzz pollination, and it doesn't actually work the way you're trying to. They cause a frequency that their whole bodies vibrate over to loosen the pollen, and because they have this static charge, because they're moving so fast with frequency, it's like rubbing a balloon on your head. It attracts the bit of pollen that's really close to them after they've already released the pollen in the flower. So it's not.
But that's my point, though, dude. That's my point. Like the pollen's more dense in the air, but the electrostatics that the bee generates makes it go up. Like, because the flower has a negative charge because it's connected to the ground.
No,
that's why they opposite attract.
No, he induced a field into there. It's the same as, let's say we take a balloon and we go off. We're not on the ground anymore. You're not grounded on the ground anymore, and you put a static charge. It's still going to be attracted to you, correct?
Wait, say again?
Let's say you're not grounded. You're in the air, high up, you're not grounded, and you got a balloon, and you rub it against you. it's still going to be attracted to you.
Yeah, maybe, but not nearly the same. But it's because your body is still trying to ground out through the medium of the air. But it won't even be close to the same as when you're standing on the ground. I've never seen that done. So, but I know that it would be way different. But my point is that if you have opposites attracting, well, I don't even believe in positive and negative charge. Those are made up terms, but like that would make the convo take a lot longer. We're just going to say it for now. The flower's negative, the bee is positive. That's why the pollen goes up to it. I see this in many different things, right? I see that like clouds are electrostatic. When they become polarized, it makes it rain and makes the rain fall down. So like we can replicate rain by literally introducing electrostatics to a cloud. So like we do see it naturally occur. So now to do science, we're going to use an instrument because I can't manipulate the entire world, obviously. So just like whenever Sleeping Warrior did his egg thing, what am I? Oh, you can't do that because you're using a man-made glass and water in an egg and you're dropping in there physically yourself. No, of course we can do experiments to replicate naturally occurring phenomena. We're doing that with the Van de Graaff generator. And that's because we can prove that in nature there is a downward electric current. So like, I don't understand. Like, I don't even disagree with you guys. Gravity is debunked. Gravity is a complete fairy tale made up. There's nothing pulling us down to a ball, right? But acceleration does require a force. Density isn't a force. Everything's electric. Everything electric tries to go to the ground so it can discharge and equalize out. So like, it doesn't make sense to ignore these things. If electrostatics is actually what's going on, it debunks their entire model immediately because it's way too weak for what they need it to be, which is why they just ignored it.
Okay, but then I got another question for you because you saw, based on that, that Rachel brought up, he was specifically saying the charge is in the atmo. So if we do this in a vacuum, would you get the same results?
Yeah, so like even in a vacuum, there is electric current. Like there's a dielectric constant and a magnetic constant, even in a vacuum. And there's something called free space impedance. So there's magnetic and electric constants in a vacuum. There's electromagnetic energy in a vacuum chamber. So it's there. And even in a Faraday cage. In a Faraday cage, it doesn't attain zero. And then the only reason that that's being acknowledged anyway is because like it's just something that's there. So like if we're going to explain nature, we have to explain what's there. But like the primary thing, well, the strongest thing is the density relationship. But we need to figure out what is density, bro. And we know the cause of density is electrostatics. So if the cause of things going up or down is the compactness of matter relative to the compactness of matter in the medium that it's in, well, if electrostatics is the cause of that compactness of matter, then the electrostatic bonds holding together the matter with a certain compactness is the initial cause of the effect. And so now we need to test it. So I can keep the density the same and control that variable, and I can manipulate electrostatics as my presumed cause, and things do indeed go up and down, and I can change their quote-unquote weight, and I can make them fall down faster. That shows that it does cause that effect, right? So they're both a cause. There's not one single cause. They're both causes.
Okay, so you're saying it's the density and the static that causes the charge.
Yeah, and if I had to pick one that was the primary one, right, it would be electrostatics because I can't even have density without that. But that's like density is obviously way stronger. Like density isn't a force, but the relationship of the medium and the object, like the force that creates, that pressure mediation, that's way stronger than electrostatics. Like way, way, way stronger. It's not even close. Yeah. But the point is it sets the up and down, and it makes the directions that it goes either up or down on this plane Earth. So
yeah, but you see, that's the problem. Now it's electrostatics and it's not current anymore.
Well, okay. That the current is just evidence of the fact that the energy is going down to the ground. Okay, like that's why we have a downward current. Like, why would we have one? Why do we have a downward current?
Yeah, but like I was saying, when you grounded, then you got 0 volt current going down. So therefore, you don't have any so-called bias electric current pushing down on you. So if I'm picking up a ball and we grounded and it's got no electric current pushing down on me, if I let it go, why is it still going down? if it's grounded.
Yeah, this is the big misunderstanding. It's not that anything is pulling down or even really pushing down other than creating the bias, but it's super, super weak, dude. So like if you say, I don't know what you're talking about exactly, say you ground a person, right? Or you ground an object, like why doesn't it float? Well, that object is still more dense than the air. So it still has a compactness of matter held together by electrostatics within that medium, but you cannot attain zero. Grounding it doesn't attain zero. That's why you have to keep something grounded, because it's constantly getting charged and constantly going down the wire to the ground, discharging. As soon as you take the ground off, it charges up again, albeit slowly, usually, right? Like you can't just ground it and then take it off. Like, okay, we're good. Like it's constantly getting that charge. That's why you have to keep it grounded, because it's like gets the charge from the medium, even in a vacuum. This has been tested many times, like with the Casimir effect, right? Like even when it's grounded, it's getting charged from the medium, and then it's what it's doing when it's grounded, it's sending that down to the ground. So it's constantly discharging, but it's not zero. It's going to be difficult to measure it unless you have really precise measurements, because it's constantly dissipating instantly into the ground. But it's never not there. In a Faraday cage, in a vacuum, it's all there. It's all measurably there, which means, and that's the truth, everything's electric. It's what holds everything together.
Okay.
So I think there could be a meeting of the minds here.
I think we have to discuss this in more detail sometime. But yeah, I'm glad
it's certainly worth talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I'm glad you came on. I do disagree with you on a lot of things still, but I'm glad we can actually have a proper discourse about this. Would you be interested to come on sometime? We can actually so I can get some things together about this, and you get some things, and we can present together and talk through it. Would you mind?
Yeah, for sure. And if you want to talk about Ether 2 or whatever, we can. It's whatever. I don't want to take over your whole show. I just want to jump on. I'm sorry for jumping on it hot last time.
No stress.
I just I got triggered about the actor.
And I'm also sorry, mate.
No worries, bro.
These types of shows, most of us get triggered in more ways than one.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's all good. No hard feelings from me towards anybody.
Shot.
No
too,
problem.
I'm gonna let you get back to your show, though. I'm not gonna.
Well, the show's gonna end now anyway. But thanks for
Very
coming.
much.
I'm actually glad you came on, so we can have this discussion. I think it's cleared up some few things, so we can understand where you're coming on, and you can understand where we're coming on. So we can clear up what the miscommunication is to be saying.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, bro. Much love.
Okay, sure,
Right.
mate.
Bless, man.
Cheers,
Bless.
bye. Oh yeah. So I mean, I think that was actually a good conversation. I'm glad he came on.
Yeah,
It was
definitely.
nice and relaxed. I do not agree with him on a few things there. He did make my point a few times, so that was a good thing. But yeah, I'm gonna probably do a kind of presentation, and then I'm gonna ask him also to do, and we can maybe present together, so we can talk about it more.
Yeah, it's certainly worth talking about. Definitely.
But I see the Globers all in chat. You guys, you're wrong. Blah 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 blah. The thing is, we don't even need to discuss the globe. That's how wrong it is. This is simply now talking on the mechanics on flat Earth. So as soon as the Globers want to come and push their nonsense globe stuff, we just don't even need to respond, because we're not pushing the globe here. Hey Baku, good to see you, mate. But yeah, there's a few things I think are wrong there. But like I said, I'll do a presentation on it, on why I think it's why I disagree. But at least he's conceded. He's trying to define the model, you could say.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this, Neil? But Neil's busy working, I think. And PJ, you any thoughts?
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. I mean, I'm glad he came on there, and like you said, it was cleared up a few things. Like you said as well, that you're still not going to agree with absolutely everything. But it's like I said as well. I keep saying like I said, but it's worth talking about.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, guys, everybody in chat, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. I think I'm going to probably have to end the show, yeah. Like I said, everybody voted for tonight, so that's why it was on. Hey, Paul Duras, good to see you. He says, good stuff. I've really learned much from both of you, and helps to hear the conversation, honest debate on these matters by people as knowledge about the subject. Thank you both.
It's good. It's a good comment.
Yeah. Thank you guys for the positive response. And yeah, Witsit, thank you again for coming on.
Bless.
I think... Ooh. Oh, what am I doing now? There we go. And now it's ended. Okay. So I'm going to end the stream here. Just want to say thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it. And by the way, I have a Twitch account as well. If any of you are interested, do go and if you do have Twitch, follow me on Twitch. Because at the moment, I think the maximum people I usually have is like 3 people.
Yeah, I'll have to make an account. I've never had a Twitch account. I'll have to make one.
But yeah, the whole point of the Twitch though is so I can get it out to a wide audience, so they can start coming to YouTube stuff. Tony Whitcomb, thank you for your $5 super chat. He says, "Is the downward bias medium specific?" That's what I was saying. That's why I asked him specifically, what happens if you have to put it in a vacuum? Would he still get the same result? So that I would like to see a test on that actually. Maybe I should get a GoFundMe for a vacuum chamber, guys, because there's a lot of things I can do with vacuum chambers. But thank you very much for the super chat, Tony. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys all for coming. You guys are awesome. Thank you for the panel. And yeah,
Not a problem.
And again, Witsit for coming in. I think it was a nice chat, and yeah, we can have discourse nice like 2 men. So that's a good thing. So yeah, guys, by the way, the thumbnails are just jokes. Don't take it seriously. I think it was just funny. That's like the Marilyn Monroe exposed and the exposed with the Pope tonight. Excommunication of the Pope. It's just a fun.
I think they were brilliant.
So yeah. So thanks all guys for coming. You guys rock. What did the polls end up on? Wow. 137 votes. Witsit needs to concede. 50% yes, 50% no. Straight down the middle.
Straight down the middle. That's Bonnie.
So, from Nelson Mandela to all of you, please have a great evening. Be blessed and may the pressure be with you. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.